Well, if we have the problem of how spaced out everybody is, which is the problem we're seeing currently in the PTU, is like everything's good till you get a bunch of people in one spot. What about dynamic server meshing that they've talked about, where the servers will size down and up based on how many people and resize? How much could that then help to keep everybody in the same shard?
I think that's going to help a lot, but even that's going to run into limitations eventually. Like your server is only going to, like the area that it's responsible for is only going to be able to get so small before, once again, you run into the problem of there's just too many things to communicate.
Right.
So I think it's going to help tremendously with what we're seeing now. Like, if you get 100 people on microtech and microtech starts to bog down, like I think dynamic server meshing will solve that. But if you have 1,000 on 1,000 player base raid, I don't think dynamic meshing is going to solve that.
I'm thinking like we should at least be able to see a few thousand people in a single star system, right? Like that.
Oh yeah,
that's
definitely.
I would hope so. So
I think we'll be able to see a lot more than a few thousand. Honestly, I think
that would be great.
Yeah.
So you feel like, horizontally speaking, that what they've figured out with this 4.0 server meshing can scale to an MMO?
Absolutely, yeah. I would not be surprised if we have like the US shard or the North America shard. That wouldn't surprise me, and the EU shard. But I think that within that shard, they'll probably do something like layering whenever the density of players gets too much, where even dynamic server meshing can't save you. That's where the layers are going to have to come into play, I think.
Yeah, so let's say you have so-and-so amount of shards for the EU zone. Do you think it's going to be just like classic MMOs for people? Like, what's the difference between the old MMOs? People would scroll down a list of servers to find the one their friends is and click in. If you're doing that with the Shards and Star Citizen, scrolling through a list and finding the one to click into with your friends.
I'd be surprised if they went that route. I do think you're going to have a single EU shard. I think what they're talking about now will eventually manifest as dynamic layers. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but where, like, say you have a base on microtech and all your friends start piling into your base. Eventually, like say the limit of a single dynamic server is 500 people. Like you can have 500 people on one game server. And say your base is, small enough that you can't possibly get more than one server hosting that base. So now you're going to be in a situation where, like, if you try to pile in more than 500 people, well, what do? Your dynamic server meshing can't possibly add another server to handle more people. So I think in that case, the answer is layering. And I think they'll do something dynamic with that, where, like, it'll assign another server to your base, but it'll be layers, so not all 500 people can see each other.
So you think it won't be in the player's view to select the shards necessarily, the matchmaking on the game's part?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. We'll have to see.
That's my guess. Some uninformed person, not exposed to what's going on internally, but that would be my guess. Just based on what I'm hearing, I thought that was very interesting, the base assault conversation that they were having, and how, like, you were only going to be able to actually assault the base if you were on the owner's shard and that kind of stuff. To me, that's telling me they're preparing for pro layering. Like, I don't think that they would do all that work as a temporary measure because we're currently playing in a sharded environment. I think they're probably doing that work, thinking ahead to, like, this
I think
edge cases.
Everybody understands they're going to. It's more a question of how much is that division going to affect the gameplay? How much am I going to notice people are on other shards in the area that I'd be playing in? And because that's what draws a lot of people to Star Citizen, is the idea that you're in one living universe with a whole bunch of other people, and it's seamless, and you're not getting interrupted, and you're not, getting torn out of your game world and thrown into another one in the middle of a base assault.
Yeah. It's a good question. I'm hoping that the limits are high enough that it's not something we run into routinely, and this is just something that is like a fail-safe measure.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, the red sirens are blaring, like we cannot do anything else, we have to do something, like, to relieve pressure. I'm hoping it's like that type of thing.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
What do you want to see most in 2025 coming up in the new year?
And Star Citizen?
Yeah.
Base building. That's what I want to see most. I think for a lot of people, that's just going to bring meaning to the game. And like I said earlier, I think that's going to connect the various loops, because especially if we can craft them, like, I don't want to see base building where it's just like I push a button and my base is there. I want to have the crafting in place to be able to craft these base components. You know, if we have a reason to go out and salvage and mine and bring that back and build a new base component and put it down, I think that's going to bring so much meaning and connectivity into the game that it's going to pull a lot more people in and actually make it fun.
Go through the logistics of it. And I do hope that each of these things, wherever they pop up, does tie into the economy, and you can kind of see prices fluctuate a little bit. You know, if a lot of people are going to build a base on a single planet, it would be cool to be able to see the resources in that area from different mining outposts and stuff start to dry up, and the prices go up, and so they're starting to call in more haulers with missions, and that drives pirates over there, so they're bringing in more bounty hunters and escorts, and you've got this whole ecosystem of gameplay spawned just because some people wanted to build some bases.
Exactly.
I completely agree with you. That is the dream. I hope we can see that soon.